About 20 years ago, I want to write about something I actually experienced. Something I still can't believe even now. The reason is simple. No one around me knows much about the paranormal, so I have no idea how to interpret what I'm about to describe. An event I truly went through. Back when I was a university student, I spent my days in utter pointlessness. I had no dreams, no goals, and I didn't belong to any clubs, research seminars, small professor-led groups, or student circles, extracurricular clubs. I just drifted through a lazy, idle life. The only thing I ever did was go for drives with two friends as aimless as I was. I'll call them K and S. But eventually we got bored of even that, and someone casually suggested that, if we were going to drive anyway, we might as well explore Hido, abandoned or officially decommissioned roads in Japan, and that's how we started. People say Hido refers to roads that are no longer used or have been officially closed. But we only wanted to go as far as a car could still reach. So rather than truly barricaded closures, we drove stretches that had fallen out of use because a larger road had been built, or narrow side lanes whose destinations we didn't even know. We did it all in K's Jimny, the Suzuki Jimny, a small 4x4 popular in Japan. We were fickle and unmotivated, but this never got boring. Maybe the out-of-the-ordinary spaces that abandoned roads revealed simply suited our temperament. One day, Kay said, "I found a good place. Want to go check it out now?" He meant he had found a new spot for our Hado explorations. It was a little past 2 in the afternoon, but since S and I had no plans, of course we decided to go right then, and we headed to the site in Kay's car. The place was about a 30-minute drive from campus, a little way in off a mountain road. From a busy main road, a narrow lane angled off diagonally. As soon as we turned onto the narrow lane, weeds were pushing up through the ground, and small stones and branches were scattered about. Clearly no one had been using it. Thinking, I never knew a road like this was here. We drove on, only to hit a dead end after about 100 meters. That's all. S and I couldn't help voicing our disappointment, but Kay smirked and pointed to the side. Take a look at that. I had assumed the roadside was lined all the way with a concrete retaining wall for landslide control. But partway along, the wall ended, and in one section a chain link fence had been put up. Looking closely, it seemed the road continued beyond the mesh. We can get in here. Yes, there was a chain link fence, but it was held shut with nothing more than twisted wire. Cut that, and you could slip inside easily. Kay had brought a pair of wire cutters in advance, and he snipped the wire. We drove the Jimny through and continued into the sealed road beyond. To be honest, we didn't feel like we were doing anything wrong at all. We figured we would twist the wire back together when we returned, and more than that, we didn't expect we could go very far on a sealed road by car anyway. Even the previous lane had weeds growing and pebbles scattered all over. We assumed that after just a short distance, a fallen tree would be blocking the way, and we wouldn't be able to continue. However, the desolate scene we expected never appeared. If anything, it looked tidier than the road before. We kept driving carefully along the narrow mountain road for about 5 minutes. After a while, a tunnel appeared ahead. Rather than a true tunnel, it was more like an arched brick passage, like a short aqueduct carved out so you could pass underneath. Only about 4 or 5 meters deep. It was wide enough for the chimney, so we drove straight through. Once we came out the other side, the road started to get rough. Stones began to scatter across the asphalt. Suddenly, S shouted, "Hey, stop a second. Look at that." He was pointing behind us, toward the tunnel we had just gone through. There, straddling the exit, stood a Torii, a Shinto shrine gate that marks a sacred boundary. It had been set flush against the tunnel mouth, so you couldn't see it from the approach. Passing through the tunnel meant you automatically passed under the gate. Uneasy now, we hesitated to turn back, but decided, for the time being, to keep going as far as we could. After another 500 meters or so, the asphalt, rough as it had been, ended as if along a drawn boundary line, and beyond that, only an unpaved dirt road stretched ahead. Eerily, at the very ends of that boundary on both sides stood 2 small shrine-like structures, hokora, little roadside Shinto shrines, so it looked as if the asphalt belonged to the near side, and the dirt road to the far side beyond them. By then, the feeling that there must be something ahead mixed with unease and excitement, and the urge to turn back had vanished. Fortunately, even after it became a dirt road, the width did not change, and there were no fallen trees blocking the way. Only in hindsight do I think we should have noticed. There were no tire tracks at all, and for a sealed road it was far too clean. After a while, we came out into an open stretch, as if the mountain road up to now had been a lie, except for the single track our car was following. There was nothing but a flat plain spreading out to the left and right. It looked a bit like rice fields, but there were no signs that anyone used them. Before we knew it, the sky was a clear blue without a single cloud, and the view was so beautiful it moved us. But then I snapped back to myself and thought, where on earth is this place? Since it lay beyond a sealed-off road, was it some abandoned settlement? It felt strange, even astonishing, that such a wide, pristine expanse could exist not so far from where we lived. How far did this single straight road go? Just as I was thinking that, a dark building appeared ahead, faint and small at first. As we drew closer, it grew larger and its shape became clear. It seemed to be a thatched roof building, kayabuki, a traditional Japanese thatch style. But we quickly realized it wasn't an ordinary thatched building. It was abnormally large, unlike anything I had ever seen. About the size of a school gymnasium. No, perhaps even bigger. Why would such an impressive structure be standing beyond a sealed-off road? What's more, When we reached the front of the building, we realized that the road we had taken was a single straight approach leading to this place, with no branches at all along the way. This building was the terminus of the road. We had thought it might be an abandoned village, but there was no settlement of any kind, only this one structure. It seemed the road we had just traveled existed for the sole purpose of leading to this building. We parked the car and stepped outside. I remember thinking, can anything make you feel this refreshed? The air was clear, the sky a deep blue without a single cloud, and I couldn't hear birds or even the wind. The temperature was just right, like early spring, and I almost felt as if I could stay there forever. But the absurdly large thatched roof building in front of us dispelled that feeling. What on earth was this structure? I had heard that thatched buildings deteriorate unless they are maintained, but this one didn't look that way. It was old, the wood darkened nearly black overall, yet there was no sense of decay at all. Was someone still using it even now? Shall we take a look inside? When I suggested it, Kay agreed, but S didn't seem eager. He said he would walk around the building for the time being, and started off. The door was heavy, but it wasn't locked, and we were able to open it. When I peered inside, a distinctive smell drifted out, musty, mold-like, old. "Excuse me, is anyone here?" There was no reply. As expected, really. Feeling somewhat relieved that no one was around, Kay and I stepped inside. It was dim, but we could make out the interior by the light leaking through gaps, and the light from the open entrance. A wide, plank-floored space spread out before us. Shelves, if that's what they were, lined the wall, but they were empty. On the left-hand wall there was a sliding door, and it seemed there was another room beyond it. But otherwise there was nothing, just floor and walls. Above, it was too dark to see clearly, but it looked as if the space was open all the way up to the rafters. It took a bit of courage, but I decided to open the sliding door. By this point, I knew I wouldn't be satisfied unless I checked. After calling out once more, "Excuse me, no one's here, right?" I slid the door open cautiously and jumped. The room inside was unexpectedly bright. It seemed there were countless daylight openings high up, clear-story-style windows. So this room was brighter than the entry-side space we were in. But I immediately realized the room wasn't just bright. It was abnormal. First of all, it was huge, truly the size of a gymnasium. And within that vast space, 5 pillars stood at even intervals, rising from floor to ceiling. Their thickness was nothing short of extraordinary. Each was a single wooden column about 3 meters in diameter and more than 10 meters tall. There were 5 of them. Whoa, do trees this big even exist in Japan? Kay wasn't wrong. I had never seen pillars that thick. As we looked around, wondering what purpose such columns could serve, Kay suddenly exclaimed, "Ah!" On the center pillar of the 5, something like paper talismans, Ofuda, had been nailed up, not with ordinary nails that have heads. but with iron spikes, sharpened rods, and there were a great many of them driven into the wood. The writing, done in brush calligraphy, looked like kanji, or like symbols, but I couldn't read it. Then Kay said, "There's something stuck to it." Looking closely, there was indeed some dried, shriveled lump pinned between the Ofuda and the spikes. "What's hammered and along with them?" Kay and I tilted our heads back almost at the same time, and at the same moment, we saw the answer. What had been hammered in were human ears. An overwhelming number of human ears had been driven into the pillar along with the Ofuda. The ones lower down had rotted away or dried into husks and were hard to make out. But for some reason, the higher up they were, the newer they seemed, clearly recognizable as human ears. The number, 1,000, wouldn't have covered it. Worse still, near the top there were ears that looked disturbingly recent. "Oh crap. Wah!" Kay and I sprinted out of that room, then out through the entrance we had come in by, and burst into the open air. We had no idea what this place was, but it was definitely bad. We wanted to jump in the car and flee at once, but then it hit me. S wasn't here. He had said he was going to circle the outside of the building. He might be around the back. Kay and I ran flat out, heading for the rear. The building was so huge that even getting around the corner took a fair bit of time. When we got around to the back, S was there, but something was wrong. He was just standing there, blankly. And in the next instant, we two stood rooted to the spot. Behind the building, there was nothing but a perfectly flat plain stretching out. And across that plain, a single row of simple wooden stands had been set at equal intervals. And on each stand, 2 or 3 candles burned with a steady, brilliant flame. It truly isn't an exaggeration to say the line continued until it faded beyond the horizon. What is this place? This is bad. As if snapping out of it at our voices, S noticed us and came over. Then he pointed out something Kay and I had completely missed. "Hey, where is the sun here?" The sun, come to think of it, the sky was a clear, cloudless blue, and yet we couldn't see the sun anywhere. The sky was bright, but the entire expanse glowed with the same, even light. "Look, I thought it was strange from the very beginning. It's way too quiet, isn't it? Since we got here, have you heard even once a bird or any living creature? And more than that, on the way here, there wasn't even a single blade of grass growing on the road." S was almost in tears. We knew we shouldn't stay here, so Kay and I tried to calm him as we hurried back to the car. On the way, the building's entrance flashed into view, and it looked like the doors were closed. I was sure Kay and I had left them wide open, but I wasn't certain anymore. In any case, we had to get out. With Kay at the wheel, we went back the way we had come and somehow made it to the mouth of the original abandoned road. When we reached the national highway, the sun was already sinking in the west. That's when it hit us. We had made it back. Afterward, neither I nor Kay nor S experienced any hauntings or curse-like phenomena. Even so, what we went through that day was unquestionably real, and all three of us remember it. Later, when we happened to pass by the entrance to that abandoned road, the narrow lane we had once been able to enter had been sealed with a sturdy gate, completely impassable. Of course, even if we could get through, we have no intention of ever entering that road again.